Shalom, fam. Coming to you today from one of my favorite places. It's a nursery that's near my crib. I want to talk to you guys today about seeds or starts. What should I use? And really, to answer that question, it really depends on the level of gardener you are. If you are just starting to garden, I would say use starts. Now that's it, and the reason why. Now, start is a plant that's already has started grown already. You'll see them at Home Depot, Walmart, or at places like this, like a nursery. People have already started them from seed, and they're already just sitting around in pots. And if you're just starting, that's a pretty good way to get it done because it increases the chances of your success. So I would definitely, if you are brand new to gardening, I would definitely start with starts instead of seeds. Now, let's say you are how you doing? In a situation like myself where I'm not necessarily new to gardening, but this year I messed up my seeds. I started a little bit late, didn't get things the way I wanted to, so now I'm in a situation where I can either say, oh well, my seeds didn't get started on time, so I'll just take off this year from growing, or you go and you buy some starts and just make it happen from there. So if you're in that situation and you messed up your seeds, you started your seeds late, they're not going to grow, don't ever take off. Just go ahead and get some starts, okay? So now let me tell you guys about advantages of both. Okay, so the advantages of, now why I normally recommend people start from seeds. One, I believe that's a skill that we all need to have. And maybe that's the prepper in me, but I believe everybody needs to know how to start and grow from seeds without somebody else having to start them for them. Two, the reason why I like seeds is you can order seeds and get seeds sometimes online, and you can grow varieties of veggies that you normally wouldn't see. See, when you go to get starts, sometimes it's just going to be the same old tomatoes, the same old peppers, the same old, squash or zucchini. When you get seeds, you can order different varieties that you may not be able to find as starts. So you have more variety when you go with seeds. 3, it's cheaper to start with seeds. You can do a $2 pack, $1 pack, $2, $2.50 pack of seeds, and they could be heirloom, and you can grow a whole lot from that one pack instead of $3.50, $2.50 for one start. 4, the reason why I like seeds is when you're doing methods like, if you're growing in a method like myself, which is I'm growing in a raised bed, and I'm growing with the square foot garden method. If you know anything about the square foot garden method, the way it works is certain plants you can grow more per square than others. So for example, if I was to grow a broccoli plant, that's going to take up 1 square. But if I was to grow Swiss chard, for example, I can put 4 of those in 1 square. Now, let's say I wanted to grow, if I had 6 squares I wanted to use toward growing Swiss chard. 6 squares would mean I would have to have 24 plants. Now, for me to buy 24 starts may get a little costly, but for me to plant 24 seeds, or 30 seeds or something like that, because some of them don't germinate, it's not going to be as expensive. So sometimes, if, like, for example, if I'm just going to grow one tomato plant, then whether I use a seed or a start, it may not necessarily matter except for the cost, because I'm only growing one. But it definitely comes into play when you're growing in those areas where you're going to be putting more than one veggie in an area. So the cost definitely adds up in that way. Now, for starts, the advantages: simple, easy. I can grow starts, and if you go to a place like this is a nursery, you can get starts that are small, or you can get the ones that are larger. The ones that are the larger the start, the better the chances are that it's going to produce and not die. So, of course, the larger the size, the more expensive. But I have the ability to say, hey, you know what? I'm not really that good, so I'll spend a little bit more money and to guarantee I'm successful this year. You have an option to do that. 2, starts for common varieties are everywhere. If you're like, I don't really care about the type of tomato, I just know I like red tomatoes. I mean, you can pretty much go anywhere. You can get those from Home Depot. You can get those from Walmart. You can get those from a nursery. You can get those from Lowe's. You can go anywhere to get those kind of things. So that's an advantage of starts. I think that's it. So those are the advantages, disadvantages. So if you're new, you're just now getting started, I'm saying go ahead and get some starts. If you're doing something like container gardening and you only have you're growing something on a balcony and you have one container, you definitely want to get starts. No need for you to get seeds. Now, there are certain things I do not recommend you buy a start for. I don't care, because they are so easy to grow, and I have yet to have any problems with seeds germinating or anything. A couple of those things are peas. The only thing about peas, now you do have to worry about the season, because peas like it colder than it does hot. But pea seeds, as long as that ground is tillable and it is not compacted and frozen, those seeds will grow and germinate, and they are so easy. Beans. I have had no problem with beans. They like it warmer, so it's going to be a little bit warm. Plant the bean seeds directly in. No need for that. Corn. I have yet to have a problem with corn kernels. They just grow. Things like radishes, stuff like that, those things, they just grow. So, I would say, if you have a raised bed or you're digging in your ground and you're just starting, start off with the starts. And you may mix it up, maybe throw a couple string beans in and stuff like that. So I am going to get started with, so I messed up this year, you guys, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Messed up my seeds, and I started too late. So I am going to be buying a couple starts. And there's something I want to show you guys when you're buying your starts, all right? So hold on, give me 1 second. All right, so when you're buying seeds, I want you to pay attention to things like this, okay? Starts. So when you're buying a start, sometimes you want to pay attention to how many plants are in each container. So, and this is one thing I see that new people do all the time. So sometimes, for example, right here. We're looking at this basil plant, right? Inside of one of these cups, you see those, it's 3 stems in there. You can actually get 3 plants out of that, okay? Don't think just because it's one thing that you have to be one plant. Now, that's important because when I'm going to buy some of my starts, I want to get the biggest bang for my buck. So if I see one container like that, I know that's only one plant, right? But if I see one that may be like that has 2 or 3 in there, it's going to cost the same price, so I'll buy that. So that's just a tip. But whatever you do, get to growing. Peace. Shalom. One more addendum to the whole starts and seed thing. Know your season and know your area, because, like, for example, I'm looking on the news and I see people out in Denver and Colorado, and they're still getting snow and all kinds of stuff like that. If they're going to go out to a Walmart, to a Home Depot, to a nursery, and they have, $10 tomato starts that are kind of big, there's no need for you to buy and spend that much money on a start that you're going to have to leave in the house for a long period of time. If I'm going to spend $10 on a start, it needs to be going directly out there in the yard. So if I'm going to have to wait a month and a half anyway before I can even plant the thing, then you might as well spend less money, and you can grow that start more, when you keep it in the house or something like that in a warmer temperature. You can grow it and take care of it for cheaper than buying the big one that you have to wait and keep in the house. Okay, same thing goes with if it's too late in the season. If it's getting real late in the season, listen, you can't be cheap at that point. At that point, you got to go ahead and spend the money on a $10 huge tomato plant, because it's going to be getting ready to produce soon. And if it's really late, you can't say, well, oh wow, I can get a bunch of small ones for very cheap, because it's going to take a long time for those things to germinate. So, not germinate, but those things to actually grow. So you got to know where you are in your season. You got to know that if stuff is going to go directly out in the yard, I can spend the money to get the larger. If it's earlier, I can actually buy smaller ones and still put them directly out there, because I have enough time for those things to grow. So it's May for me in my zone. I'm in zone 7, and our normal frost date is like the 2nd week in May. So normally around in our area, we always have a kind of like a go-by. We always say you can plant your summer stuff after Mother's Day, because Mother's Day is always around the 2nd week in May. So we always use Mother's Day as a gauge for us. So for me, it's still early enough that if I wanted to be cheap, I could buy smaller starts and still plant them out in the yard, because I know I have more time to go. But let's say it was June, towards the end, the middle of June, I'm going to spend the money for the larger. It's because, I need it to be producing at least by July or August. Or I just spent money, and then by the time it gets to a certain size, it's going to be getting ready to die. All right? So keep those things in mind. And that's it. Get to grow when, people.